Hello. We're here at the City of 10,000 Buddhas in the calligraphy room. We're going to talk today about some lessons to be learned from the Shurangama Sutra, how to use the sutra properly as a practice tool for developing awakening. And the sutra is most famous for its mantras. It's mantra, Shurangama mantra. And although the Shurangama mantra only occupies a small portion of the sutra, it's really considered the heart of the sutra. But to realize why it's the heart of the sutra, you have to practice the contemplations that comprise the better portion of the sutra. Otherwise, the value of the mantra will be lost. It will not be realized. Just like with any mantra, as a matter of fact. So in order to prepare one's mind to use the mantra effectively, we do various contemplations. And they're very simple. For example, a talk in the sutra to help a great king who was a benefactor of the Buddhas, King Prasanjit. To benefit King Prasanjit, the Buddha took a walk with him one day. And as they were walking through the gardens of the palace, they crossed a bridge. And that bridge, beneath that bridge was a tributary to the Ganges River. And the Buddha asked the king, "Do you see that river?" And the king said he did. And he says, the Buddha asked him again, he says, "Well, when was the first time you saw that river?" And the king replied, "The first time I saw that river was when I was 4 and I was walking with my mother. And I looked below and I knew it was the river Ganges." Then the Buddha said, "How did it look then?" And the king said, "It looked like it did today." And the king went on to say, "When I was 10, I walked across this bridge with my mother many times. And when I was 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, we walked across this river. Not every day, but once a week or so. And it looked the same as it does now. We used to go to visit and make offerings to the goddess Jiva in the small temple below the bridge, adjacent to the river, on the river banks. We visited there many times, and we crossed this river many times, and I always knew it was flowing into the Ganges." And the Buddha says, "Well, what about when you were a young man?" And the king said, "Yes, when I was 20, I used to cross this river too. And then later, when I got married, after my mother passed away, it would happen that I would take my children across this river also. And they too saw the river just like I did with my mother. And they too knew that it was flowing into the Ganges. And we'd make offerings to the goddess Jiva. And then the Buddha says, well, when you took your children across this river, did it look so much different to you then than it maybe did to your children that you were taken across? Then the king says, no, world honored one. The river looked the same to me when I was 30 with my children, 20 with my children, and when I was a child myself with my mother. And now, even as I am advanced in years, and I know my time is not long, I'm 60 years old and more, and my time is not forever. But this river is still flowing. And the Buddha says, does it look so much different to you now that you're 68 than it did when you were 20 and strong, or when you were 30 and you had the little ones by your side, or when you were only 4 with your mother, when you first saw it? And the king says, world honored one, the river looks the same. It's only me that looks so much different. As for the river, it's always been so beautiful. And the Buddha said to the king, that's the way it is, great king. Your appearance has changed a lot. And your physical powers, first you grew strong, then you maintained that strength for a while, but then now you're not as strong as you were. But your visual awareness hasn't changed. The river looks the same to you as it always has. Is it not so? And the king said, yeah, it looks exactly like it always has. And then the Buddha said, that which is aware of that river, that seeing nature, that's who you are. And the physical body that has undergone so much change, that's not you. So the Buddha made a very important point here. And, he wasn't just discussing the flow of a river, he was not an environmentalist, although he probably would be today, but in those days they loved nature. So what was the Buddha getting at? Why was he having this discussion with the king and pointing out to him that his seeing nature, that which sees, that hasn't changed a bit. The king still sees the river the same when he was 4 as he did when he was 68. And the Buddha points out that that's who, in fact, he is, that nature, that consciousness, that awareness that is aware. So, what is the point of all of this? The point is that we all know that we have various obstacles. Some of us are aware that we have afflictive emotions, anger, jealousy, doubt, self-doubt, greed, a whole variety of afflictions. And even if we are a monk in a monastery and we're living pure lives, we still have all of those, perhaps, maybe to a lesser extent. And maybe we don't have them at all if we're a lay person that happens to be very fortunate to have a very good balanced lifestyle. We may be very much like a monastic with a balanced lifestyle and not have any afflictive emotions. But let's say that we're in the group that has a lot of, or some afflictive emotions, disturbing emotions, distractions, greed, anger, and so forth. Hate. They're coarse emotions. Then there's emotions that are less destructive, less harmful towards others and ourselves, which are kind of like normal things. We want to be respected and loved by others. We feel bad when people don't acknowledge us and so forth. And when we fail at something, we feel self-conscious about it. And we may feel very shy about it. We may be very displeased with ourselves and so forth. Then if we're basically on top of the world, we may also, be aware that we are on top of the world, that our lives are going well. We have the resources we need to survive well. We have a good home life, or we're living in a monastery, and our lives are very balanced and comfortable, and we're aware of that. So there are all different kinds of awarenesses. There's the awareness of all that's going well. Then there's the awareness of things medium, not going bad, not going well, and then there's things that are terrible. We're full of jealousy, anger, hatred, lust, terrible lust. We might be aware that we're very lustful, and everything that attracts us, members of the opposite sex attract us. And this is a distraction, we know it. So we may have greed for fine clothing, greed for extravagant things, hankerings, wanting a finest watch. Speaking of watches, it's really funny because I used to teach in a monastery, about 40 kids. They'd study all day, 8 hours a day. And I negotiated with the abbot because these kids worked so hard to take them for an outing once a week to get them out of the monastery. And the kids loved me for that. They were only between 6 and 8 or 10 years old. Very adorable. I loved them all. I still do, and some of them I still know. So I'd take them out, and we'd go to a lake and we'd swim, and in the lake and in the jungle. It was a jungle lake. And then I would take them to town afterwards, which is a village town because we were in the Himalayas, in a place called Pokhara. And so I would take them there, and I would let them all run wild in the marketplace. And what do you think they did? They all stuck their faces in the windows and looked at watches. Every single watch in the marketplace they would look at and drool over. And these were really watches that nothing like we know of now. This was 1983 in Nepal. So they're looking at a bunch of watches with plastic cases and bands, and not even up to a Timex standard, but they drooled nonetheless. And I can't criticize them. I did the same thing when I'd go to Kathmandu. I'd be on New Road there in the middle of the marketplace. I'd look at watches too sometimes. And to tell you the truth, I still do. So anyway, we all have hankering, but we're aware of them. And we're aware of our afflictive emotions, like we're aware of jealousy when it arises. We're aware of anger towards someone. And we may be in various degrees self-conscious of it. And if we're not self-conscious at all, then it's like having a house with a room on fire. If you know it's on fire, it's a lot better than not knowing it's on fire. But in any case, if we're aware to any extent, we're aware of our afflictions, we're aware of being everything, no afflictions, we're aware that everything is going well. So whatever the case is, whatever we're aware of, there's an awareness of that state of mind. And that awareness is not afflicted. That awareness is not greedy. That awareness is not full of hate, and that awareness is not full of lust. So if you're aware of being jealous, language habituates ourselves to think, associate our minds with our emotions in a way that we impute a self onto that awareness. So if we're aware, if we say, for example, I hate that person. I am so jealous right now. That person stole away somebody from me. I want that watch so badly. So we're aware of these awarenesses. We know it. We're aware of being greedy, lustful, and we're aware when everything's going well. So that lust isn't who we are. That which is aware of the lust is who we are. That which is aware of the anger is who we are. That which is aware of the greed is who we are. And that which is aware of all going well is who we are. So what the Buddha was saying to the king is, you are thinking you're old, but that which sees that river when you were 4 hasn't changed since now when you're 68. And that awareness is who you are, not the one you think you are, this body that's aging. So just as the king misappropriated and associated his I thought, his identity, with his physical body, so do we associate ourselves with our emotions when we say, I'm angry, I'm jealous, I want that watch so bad. I want this fancy robe so bad. I want to prance around in my 108-piece red robe so bad. You know, it just makes me feel so stellar when I wear it. So I don't care what's going on. I'm going to wear my robe nonstop. So a monk might have that kind of feeling too. Or maybe he even wants a purple robe, because I've seen monks with purple robes. It took me a while to figure it out because I saw it for the first time in Kathmandu a few years ago, a Chinese monk with a purple robe, 108-piece purple robe. Then I found out that that is indeed a very special kind of robe. It's only reserved for very, very high abbots to the emperor and so forth in the ancient days. But whether we're aware, like we may be aware that we eat once a day, or we're aware that we're fasting, you know, so it's not always necessarily bad awarenesses in the conventional sense. Like hatred and lust are kind of negative in the conventional sense. So, but we're aware of it, and we're that awareness. We're not the hatred or lust. Now, the same token, you know, like somebody can fast for a very long time. You know, he might fast for a week or two. And then people will say, and he will say, I am, you know, I feel really great. I'm doing this fast, you know. And even, you know, I mean, after all, as a common person, it's normal to get a little puffed up about fasting or memorizing a sutra and think to oneself, I memorized that sutra. But who really memorized the sutra? It's the same scenario, you know, as with the afflictive emotions. Well, memorizing the sutra is a good thing, but that which is aware of memorizing that sutra is who you are, not the one that memorized the sutra. And that awareness is the pure nature of the mind, unchanging, unconditioned nature of the mind, not dependent on anything. It doesn't feel better that you memorized the sutra. Doesn't feel better that you fasted. It doesn't make it feel better that you have some lofty position in a monastery. And it doesn't feel any worse if you are full of lust and hate. No. That pure awareness is who we are. And so when the king, was talking to the Buddha, the reason that the Buddha pointed all of this out about the river Ganges and looking at it, he was saying that which is aware of that river hasn't changed a bit since you were 4. And the king agreed with him. So the Buddha is telling him, he's directing him, look into who you really are. Who are you? You're thinking that you're growing old. Who is that that's thinking he's growing old? Who is it that's aware of growing old? That doesn't change. That changeless, unconditioned, an awareness that's not dependent on anything is who we are. That is it. That's all that one has to realize. To escape from the limitations of selfishness and desire. We are confined to a physical body, so we think, because we identify with it. It's a question of identifying with it. I am sick. I am healthy. I am in pain. I bump my foot. I'm in pain. Even though it's only the foot that's in pain, we think I am in pain, the whole body. Our thinking causes us to view the body as self. And our language, the way we communicate about ourselves, habituates our minds to identify with the physical body. That does change. It changes from day to day, from year to year, as we all know. But that which is aware of that change does not know that, doesn't think about that, is not conditioned by that. And that's who we are. So, we have to think of ourselves in terms of what are the causes of our misidentification of ourselves from this pure nature, which is like a pure crystal. Take, for example, a very pure crystal. You put blue in front of it, it turns blue. It appears blue. You put red in front of it, it appears red. You put a flower in front of it, it reflects the colors of that flower. You take it outside in the sunshine, you see the whole spectrum of the rainbow. But the crystal doesn't change, it just appears to. And we don't change, but we appear to. So what are we going to identify with? The crystal or what's appearing in it? It's all a question of identity. And if we get that, then we get the point of what the Buddha was saying to Prasanjit as they crossed the river Ganges. If we don't get it, we have a lot of homework to do. Now, the king had a great advantage. He's walking with the Buddha, and the Buddha's enlightened. And when you're walking around with somebody that's gold, you're going to get a little golden too, no matter how much like a piece of iron or lead you are. That's going to rub off on you. So as people that want to increase their identity to a true identity of who we are, we should do our best to associate ourselves with what is going to facilitate that, which is associating our body and mind with good friendship. People, Buddha always said, associate with those who are your equal or superiors. Because as the saying goes, a clay bodhisattva can't save himself, let alone others. So we shouldn't be like a Mother Teresa running around trying to save everyone. Try and find people that can make each one of us better. That's the best thing. So we associate with good people that are good influences on us. We associate our minds with challenging books and talks that make us really think, that demand our attention, that cause us to grow. And if we associate our mind and body with good friends and good sources of knowledge, and our idle time, if we associate our idle time with reflection on the nature of mind, nature of our world, and the nature of all that's influencing us, and try and upgrade that, upgrade our operating systems so that actually we're associating with things from all angles. It's going to actually bring us up rather than drain us on the one hand or make us dumb us down on the other. So we want to be around smarter people. We want to read what smarter people write. And we want to talk to smarter people than ourselves. And we want to reflect in a smart way and not just muse about this and that, or this memory of surfing the bonsai pipeline or climbing in the Himalayas or enduring a long fast or anything like that. Or whatever happened in the past. The past is gone and the present is not happening. And the present is all that matters. And all the present matters because it's a pinpoint of everything that's ever influenced us. And we are determining our future every moment. So if we make the best of every moment now when it matters, then we will grow. And when we grow, we help other people to grow. Our happiness spreads to other people's happiness. Our knowledge spreads to other people. Our wisdom spreads to other people, and we benefit other people. So this talk, to sum it up, is basically about identity, personal identity, what we identify with. It doesn't matter how bad our life is going or how good it's going, because there's naive bliss, there's naive happiness. You have enough money, the kids are in good schools, all is going well. No matter how nice everything is, that which is aware of how great it is a million miles higher and more worthwhile to be aware of. And if you're a miserable person with very little money, very few friends, and lots of disturbing emotions, you're aware of it. And that awareness is like a pure crystal. And it's just a question of identity. No less so than it is with the person that all is going well. He too is a pure crystal. And all that's reflected in that crystal will never touch the wonder and miracle of that pure crystal. And for a person things are not so well, the same thing is true. So there's an equality here. So don't be fooled by appearances, like King Prasanjit was, and the Buddha corrected him. Don't be fooled by things, how they're going, good or bad. It's all it's all the same. It's all in the crystal is perfectly pure. That which is aware is what you want to identify with. Who is that awareness? Look inside, who am I? And ask yourself that. That's the path. And that's what will bring really true happiness, clarity, and bliss. So we conclude this talk here. Thank you for listening. August, what is it? October 3rd. Okay, 2020. Bye-bye.